Hello friends, welcome to Byju's classes. In today's session, we are going to discuss one more topic under rural and agrarian transformation in India. We'll be discussing about cooperatives. So in this session, we are first going to understand what is the meaning of cooperatives, what are some of the principles on which cooperatives are formed, on the basis of which cooperatives are formed. Then we'll also understand what are some of the features, characteristics of cooperatives. What is the history of cooperative movement in India? What have been some of the positives, some of the benefits we have got because of cooperatives? What are some of the challenges that still exist for the cooperative movement? Apart from that, we'll also look at some of the solutions which have been offered by certain committees related to cooperatives. And we will end the session with certain case studies related to cooperatives. We'll also look at some of the perspectives of different thinkers related to cooperatives. So this is what we are going to cover in this session. A very important topic for our sociology paper too. And it can also be asked in gender studies. So these kind of topics are quite there in the news. That is the reason it becomes very important. So first thing, what we will do is we'll understand what is cooperative. Now, what is the root word here when we say cooperative? Cooperative, the root word here will be cooperation. So from this, we can guess that in these kind of organizations, people are cooperating with one another. In these organizations, the main goal will be to help each other out. But what kind of help they are offering to one another? So, if you look at any cooperative, it is nothing but an organization which is formed to promote the economic interest of its members. There are certain members in a cooperative, and these members are basically helping each other out. They're basically promoting their economic interest. Now, as we proceed, we'll understand what are the different kind of cooperatives and how they are basically promoting their economic interest. One example I can give you right now. There are many consumer cooperatives. See, as a consumer, you are a consumer, I am a consumer. We do not produce things on our own. Most likely, we are not farmers. So now, if you are purchasing vegetable or if you are purchasing fruits, that particular vegetable, that particular fruit would have been created, would have been produced by a farmer in some rural area. In between the farmer and in between the consumer, that is I, that is you, there will be multiple number of intermediaries. And these intermediaries, the wholesaler, the retailers, etc., etc., they will also take a part of the profit. If the cost for the farmer for producing that particular vegetable fruit was, let's say, 10 rupees, I might be paying 30 rupees for that. So in between, some people would have taken that 20 rupees. Now, there are certain consumer cooperatives. What they do is they will directly procure the food, vegetables, fruits, whatever it is, directly from the producers. So in that case, what is happening is the consumer gets benefited. Consumer gets benefited, the farmer might also get benefited. The farmer might charge a higher price, at the same time, customer is paying a lesser price. The intermediaries, the profit of the intermediaries, the middleman's profit is eliminated in such a scenario. So it is an example of consumer cooperative. There can be other kind of cooperatives. We'll come to those cooperatives in a while. But just look at it. The consumers, they formed a cooperative, they are getting the benefit of forming the cooperative. So the economic interest of the consumers is being promoted in such a scenario in case of a consumer cooperative. You might have observed these kind of consumer cooperatives if you had been staying in a university. Generally, in these universities, they will have their own consumer cooperatives. Sometimes if you are part of some larger organizations, especially these public sector units, they might also have their own consumer cooperatives. This is what happens in that case. They will directly procure it from the producers and directly they will sell it to the consumers. In between, there will not be any middleman. Now, cooperatives, they are formed on the basis of certain principles. Cooperatives, they adhere to these principles. These principles are called the cooperative principles. Now, what we will do is we will look at some of these principles. What do we understand by cooperative principles? Now, there are basically 5 cooperative principles here. First thing is voluntary membership. Second one is cooperatives are democratic system. Cooperatives believe in equitable distribution. Cooperatives believe in cooperative education. Apart from that, mutual cooperation. It is the basis on which cooperatives are formed. So, what do we mean by all these principles? Now, first thing, voluntary membership. You can join a cooperative. Membership to a cooperative is voluntary in nature. You can join any cooperative, irrespective of your social, political, religious beliefs, racial origins. You are free to join any cooperative, provided you are adhering to the goals, principles of the cooperatives. Your joining the cooperative is irrespective of all these biases. Anyone who wants to be part of a cooperative can be part of it, irrespective of your political, religious, regional beliefs. Cooperatives are democratic organizations. In cooperatives, you will find mechanisms like voting. Elections, they happen quite regularly. There will be formation of a board. The board will decide on your behalf, but you will have elected that board. So they are democratic in nature. Whatever benefits are accrued by the cooperative, they are distributed equitably among its members. So whatever profits are there, it will be distributed among all its members. Cooperatives give a lot of attention to cooperative education. Members of the cooperative, they are taught about the different principles, rules, regulation of cooperatives. And it is very, very important because what is the main aim of cooperative? Cooperative means people are helping each other out. You are promoting each other's economic interest. So all the members should be aware of the different rules and regulations. Or else what might happen is a certain section within the cooperatives might form who can accrue all the benefits. A certain section might form who might start dominating. So if all the members are educated about the rules, regulations, provisions, mechanisms of the cooperatives, they can ensure that these kind of things does not happen. So education about the principles, techniques of cooperation is provided to all its members. Apart from that, as I told you, cooperation, that is the fundamental basis on which cooperatives are formed. And one thing here, it is not just about cooperation within the cooperatives. Cooperatives should also cooperate with other cooperatives. There should be cooperation at regional, local, regional, international, national level. So cooperatives, it is basically part of the movement. There should be an international movement of cooperatives, where the entire international scenario is dominated by cooperatives and cooperatives are cooperating with each other. So these are certain principles on which cooperatives are formed. Now, there was one high-powered committee on cooperatives set up by the government in 2009. Now, this particular report, you can find it online, you can also go through it. But again, it's a huge report, and this report specifically focused on agricultural cooperatives. But one thing here, this particular committee, it studied the entire cooperative sector, it also studied agricultural cooperatives separately, specifically. Now, they had defined what is a cooperative. They have talked about the different principles of cooperative. They had envisaged cooperatives in a particular manner. They also identified the different issues with the cooperative sector in India. And they also have given some suggestions. So many of the things that we are going to discuss in this session will be from that committee. We have also referred to some other reports. Now, this particular committee, high-powered committee set up in 2009, it envisaged it viewed cooperative in a particular manner. So how they are viewing cooperatives? What should be the role of cooperatives? How should they be function as an organization? So they are saying that cooperatives should be self-reliant, self-sustaining institutions. They should be functioning in free, fair, transparent manner. They should keep up with the values and principles of the cooperative movement. The things that we just saw: voluntary membership, democratic management, mutual cooperation, membership education. All these things are the fundamental principles of cooperatives. So cooperatives in India should adhere to these core principles. Member centrality is a very important part of cooperative movement. At the end of the day, you have to promote the economic interest of your members. Profit might not be the only focus. In fact, profit should not be the focus. Helping each other out should be the focus. You can make profit, but first you have to ensure that you are helping each other out. So members are central to the cooperative movement. Members are central to the cooperative organization. So our cooperative should focus on that. Professionalism, quality, integrity, these are very important for cooperatives. Apart from that, you have to ensure that power in any cooperative should not get concentrated among a few hands. It should lie among all the members of the cooperative. So concentration of power needs to be arrested. For that, education, awareness building, all these things are important. So this is how the 2009 committee is viewing cooperatives, and these principles please keep in mind in case there is a question on cooperatives. Let's say there is a question, what is the status of cooperatives in India? So answering these kind of questions, what you can do is compare at present what is the status or what is the objective situation with these principles. Compare whether our cooperatives are actually focusing on members or are they focusing on some key individuals. Find out whether they are working in a transparent manner or whether there is corruption. Find out whether professionalism, quality, integrity is being given importance, or there are some examples which point otherwise. So principles are always important. They are the benchmark. They are the hallmarks. We can compare things with these principles which are the benchmark. So this is the reason why these principles are important. Understanding, identifying principles are important. Now what we will do is we'll look at some of the types of cooperatives which are quite predominant in case of India. One kind of cooperative is the consumer cooperatives, about which I told you. So directly, these kind of cooperatives formed among the consumers, they will directly procure the produce from the producers. So the interest of the consumers is protected. Directly, you are procuring from the producers. Some examples are here. Kendriya Bhandar, Apna Bazaar, Sarkari Bhandar. There are some examples of consumer cooperatives. Now, there can be some producers cooperative as well. Now, what do producer cooperatives do? Now, there can be some producers who might require some expensive machinery, some expensive inputs. One particular producer, if he tries to purchase these machinery, it might be difficult for him to purchase it. And he might not require this particular machinery throughout the day or throughout the period. So what can happen here is, few producers, they come together, they pool in their resources and they purchase these inputs. And they share these inputs among themselves. So the burden on each individual producer reduces. So generally, these cooperatives are formed by small producers and it makes available item which is required for their production, purposes. For example, all these handloom cooperatives are defined. In case of Haryana, you have Haryana Handloom. In case of Odisha, you have Bayanika. In case of southern states, you have Cooptex. So these are all handloom cooperatives. These are all producer cooperatives. Some of you might be from some other state. Just find out what is your handloom cooperative in your region. Another example of cooperative is marketing cooperative. The most prominent example of marketing cooperative is Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation. It sells all the Amul milk products. Now, what this particular cooperative is doing, it is collecting the products from individual members and then it can process this particular product. It can convert it into different forms and then it will sell it in the market. So Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, it collects milk from different dairy farmers. It will process it. It will convert it into some form in which the shelf life will increase. Different technology they will use. They will have the experts. Apart from that, they might also convert it into new forms. Milk can be converted into paneer, ice cream, shrikhand, multiple forms, and they will sell it across the country. So they are basically focusing on the marketing part. Another kind of cooperative is credit cooperative. Now, what happens in credit cooperatives is members who are part of these credit cooperative societies, so they will be pooling in some of their resources to these societies. Whenever there is a requirement, they might take loans from these cooperatives. So financial support is provided by these cooperatives. These cooperatives, they will accept deposit from members. They will also accept grants. They will give grants. They will give loans. So whenever there is a requirement, loans are provided. And at different points of time, you will be pooling your resources. You might also get a very high rate of interest. Farming cooperatives. Now, a particular farmer might find it difficult to procure different machinery for agricultural activities. So different farmers, they can come together and purchase this equipment and they can share it among themselves. So that is called farming cooperative. For example, lift irrigation cooperative societies can be there. So they will work jointly and they will get the benefit of large scale farming. There can be housing cooperatives. Now what happens in a housing cooperative? Some people will join together, they will form a housing cooperative and they will purchase a plot of land and they will hire a builder, they will hire a contractor, they will hire an architect and they will construct a building. They will construct flats. So depending on their contribution, they will have a share in that particular society. Some of them might have a 2 BHK, some will have a 3 BHK. So depending on how much they have contributed. So they purchase land, develop it, construct house flats and allot it to its members. So this is an example of housing cooperatives. If some of you are working in government organizations, if some of you are working in public sector organizations, you will observe that in your own organization you might have housing cooperative societies. So these are some type of cooperatives around you, some examples. There might be some more examples as well. So wherever you are staying, try to explore. You might observe cooperatives around you. Also, you might observe some different more type of cooperatives in newspapers, magazines. So if you observe these things, just note it down. Now what we will do is we'll understand some of the general provision of cooperatives. What are some basic features of cooperatives, how cooperatives are regulated, what kind of functions they carry out, some basic features. Now, the provisions related to cooperatives. See, when we say provisions related to cooperatives, one challenge we face here is we do not have one set of law related to cooperatives. Different states will have their own laws related to cooperatives. In India, cooperatives comes under the state list. So Karnataka will have its own laws, Uttar Pradesh will have its own laws, Maharashtra will have its own laws. So the provision related to cooperatives can vary from state to state because it is in the state list, the state subject. But if you look at it, most of the states will have something in common or it will not vary too much. So that is the reason we are saying general provisions. So we'll just look at some of the basic features about cooperatives. So we'll just look at some of the basic features of cooperatives. Now what are some of these provisions? Now for formation of cooperatives, generally 10 members are required and these members should be from different families. In a cooperative, you will have a general body which will have all the members and it is the final authority in managing the institution. The cooperatives will also have a board which is elected by the general body. Cooperatives require annual auditing. There has to be general meetings. Accounting should also be there. Apart from that, regular election should be there. There might be different committees. Election should be held to different committees. In case cooperatives, they are changing their internal rules and regulations, the bylaws. Cooperatives have their own rules and regulations. They have their own bylaws. In case they are changing all these bylaws, they have to inform to the registrar of cooperatives. Cooperatives are registered with the government. They are registered with the registrar of cooperative societies. So in case they are changing any of these bylaws which regulates these cooperatives, then they have to inform it to the registrar. Cooperatives can transfer their liabilities asset to other cooperative societies. They can divide it among two or more societies. So whatever asset liabilities it is there, they can send it, they can transfer it to other cooperatives, they can divide it among cooperatives. But whatever be the case, all these things needs to be recorded. Apart from that, the registrar of cooperatives has power to direct amalgamation, division, reorganization of cooperatives in public interest. So registrar of cooperatives has powers. And in case government has some share in the capital of the cooperative, government has contributed to the cooperative, in such a scenario, it can nominate members to the management committee. So government can also control cooperatives if it is contributing some part to its capital. Registrar has the right to supersede elected committees, order fresh elections, appoint one or more administrator who are also paid remunerations from the funds of the committee. So registrar has excessive powers and registrar is not part of the cooperatives. He's part of the state government. Apart from that, different laws, they will prohibit a cooperative from providing loans to persons who are not its members. So these are some general provisions of cooperatives. And most of the provisions are taken from the Delhi law regulating cooperatives. But most of the laws all over India will be more or less same. Keep one thing in mind that cooperatives, they are registered entities, they're registered with the state, and state, if it is contributing some amount of money, it also has the right to appoint, to nominate a person over there. So government can indirectly regulate cooperatives, can control cooperatives, and registrar of cooperatives has excessive powers. Keep this in mind. Apart from that, cooperatives have some requirements, auditing, elections, all these things has to be carried out regularly. They also have to maintain their accounts. What are some other features apart from cooperatives, other characteristics? Cooperatives have open membership. Minimum 10 members have to be there. But what is the maximum limit? There is no such thing. State controls cooperatives. I already told you the different cooperatives have to give certain details to the state. They're registered with them. They have to give certain details. They have to give their accounts are audited from time to time. How can cooperatives raise money? They can raise loans. They can secure lands. Sometimes states also contributes. Members contribute. State also can contribute with finances. Service is the main motive of cooperatives. Mutual help, self-help, these are the main aim of cooperatives. Profit is not the ultimate goal. Providing service to its members, promoting their interest is the main aim here. Cooperatives are legal entities. They are all registered under different Cooperative Societies Act. Self-help, mutual cooperation, they are the fundamental basis of formation of cooperatives. So these are some features, characteristics of cooperatives. Now, what are some advantages of cooperatives? Cooperatives are one mechanism which can be easily found. There are mechanisms which are promoting the economic interest of their members. There are also mechanisms by which you can elevate poverty. There are mechanisms by which you can ensure development. And this kind of mechanism can be easily found. This kind of organization can be easily found. They are open. They have open membership. Anyone can be part of cooperative. Voluntary membership is there. They're also democratic organization. It is also an advantage. People have a say in the functioning of the cooperatives. So power rests with the people. Limited liability is another very important feature of cooperatives. Now, what is the meaning of limited liability? Now, let's say you are starting an organization. If that organization fails, then it is your liability now. You are losing out everything. But in a cooperative, different members have contributed some part. Now, if that cooperative fails, you are losing that part that you have contributed. So your liability is now restricted. If it is your own organization, it is your entire liability. So because of cooperative, the liability on you in case the cooperative fails gets restricted. Cooperatives eliminate middleman's profit. I've already given you an example. Whatever benefit is there, it directly comes to the members of the cooperatives and it is shared among the members equitably. Cooperatives also get the benefits from the state. States provides assistance. And cooperatives are specifically important for people who are poor, who are illiterate, who do not have specific skills. Now, these are the people who are left behind in the development processes. Now, how to bring them under the fold of development? So, cooperatives are those mechanisms which invariably supports, provides assistance to these kind of people. So, people who are poor, who are not skilled, who are uneducated, they are the ones who can avail benefits through cooperative processes. Cooperatives can also reduce bureaucratic hurdles. Now, if cooperatives are there, number of people are there. So, bargaining power of people increases. If bargaining power increases, these bureaucratic hurdles can also be taken to. These bureaucratic hurdles can be reduced. Cooperatives can soften social conflicts, or people are part of the movement, they're cooperating with one another. So social conflicts can be reduced. Apart from that, it provides a conducive environment for for growth of small scale industries. With the help of cooperatives, you can start different small scale industrial setups. So these are the major advantages of cooperatives. So this is about the different features, characteristics, advantages that cooperatives offer. But what is the story in case of India? What is the history of cooperative sector in case of India? How the sector has evolved over a period of time? Evolution of cooperative sector. Now, in case of India, the origin of cooperatives during the initial phases, the cooperative sector it emerged in certain areas, in certain domains. For example, agriculture and right sectors. These are the fields, sectors in which cooperative sector is emerging. And over a period of time, you observe that they have been specifically successful in dairy sector, in urban banking, housing, sugar and handloom sector. It is also said that the cooperative sector in case of India has a spiritual content. We have already covered land reforms, if you remember, land tenure system, land reforms. Then we had discussed about the Bhudan Gramdan movement initiated by Vinoba Bhave. These movements, Gramdan, Bhudan movement, they can also relate to the cooperative movement in case of India. And they were all spiritual in character. You're going to villages, you're asking people to give away whatever extra land you have. So it is spiritual in nature as well. Now, when was the first time we had a law related to cooperatives? When was the first time a cooperative was formed? The first law that we had was Cooperative Credit Society Act in 1904 during the colonial period. And this particular law created a post for Registrar of Cooperative Societies. So if you are forming a cooperative society, you have to register with the registrar. First cooperative is forming in 1905. In 1919, whatever transport reforms, during this period, now cooperative is becoming a provincial subject. The provinces will make laws related to cooperatives. Apart from that, during the colonial period, J.C. Kumarappa Committee on Agricultural Reforms was set up. It talked about cooperative farming, that we should introduce cooperative farming. Cooperative Planning Commission was formed in 1946. India is becoming independent. Post-independence, the cooperative sector is becoming very strong, very predominant. In fact, the first 5-year plan, it is asking farmers to be part of the cooperative movement. Vaikunth Mehta Committee, it is saying that we should start focusing on service and consumer cooperatives. It is said that cooperatives should be set up in villages so that they can support the community development programs. In fact, it was also stated that the success of the 5-year plans will be caused by the fact that how much has been attained with the help of cooperatives. What is the legal status of cooperatives? We are becoming independent. We are drafting our constitution. The constitution also says that cooperatives are state subject. But there were some cooperatives, or there can be some cooperatives, which can spread across multiple states. So for these kind of cooperatives, or regulating these kind of cooperatives, we are having Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act. Initiated in 1984, it has gone through multiple amendments. 97th Amendment inserted Article 43B. And now, formation of cooperative is a right of every citizen of India. So in our constitution also, we have the mention of cooperatives. So forming a cooperative is your right. Now, how strong is the cooperative movement? What are some numbers which gives us an idea about the strength of this movement? Now, if you look at the members in cooperatives, in 1950-51, just after independence, there were hardly 1.55 crore members. But at present, we have around 25 crore members. Number of cooperatives in 1950-51, it was just 1.81 lakhs. Now it is more than 3 times of that. 6 lakh members in 2009-2010. So the cooperative sector has expanded massively in the period after independence. And there are certain sectors which are dominated by cooperatives. For example, fertilizer production distribution sector, 36% of the sector is dominated by cooperatives. Sugar sector, cooperatives, almost 60% of the sector is dominated by cooperatives. Cotton, 60% is dominated by cooperatives. Hand weaving sector, 55%. Rural credit, 25%. So these are the areas where cooperatives have played a very, very important role in case of India. So this is the story of cooperatives. This is the evolution of cooperative sector in case of India. They have offered a different kind of advantages, they have offered different kind of benefits, because of which they have become stronger over a period of time. But cooperative sector in India has also faced multiple kind of challenges. Now, what are some of the specific challenges faced by cooperative sector? In case of India, there are many cooperatives and there are many members in these cooperatives. But the problem is, many times you will find members who are inactive. Their name is there in the cooperatives, but they do not contribute to the cooperatives. Membership to cooperatives is important, but what is also more important is active membership. Now, for a cooperative to be successful, it requires all these members to contribute, not just material sources, but also through their ideas. Just remember what was one of the major principles of cooperative, mutual cooperation. You should help each other out. But if you are just registered and you are not contributing to the cooperatives anyway, then the cooperatives will not be effective in the long run. So inactive membership is a problem, and it is very difficult to throw out members who are inactive. So speedy exit of non-user members, that becomes very difficult. Apart from that, member communication, awareness building measures is also something which is lacking in many of these cooperatives. Apart from that, governance is also a challenge in many of these cooperatives. Generally, governance focuses on the structure of the board, the relationship with members, managers, state. But we generally forget the cooperative principles. So we need to focus on the basic objectives with which the cooperatives are formed. Another major issue is the perception towards cooperatives. Generally, cooperatives are viewed as any government organization, state organization. They're not viewed as economic institution in itself. And this kind of perception impacts the professionalism of these organizations. So they are just viewed as instruments of government meant for public good. Therefore, they always need to be supported. So this also impacts the performance of these institutions. There are also many design issues. Sometimes cooperatives are formed not because members wanted it, but because there was some sort of target from the side of the state. State wants these many cooperatives to be set up. So you have set of cooperatives. So this is basically a top-down approach. You are just focusing on the numbers. You are just focusing on the outputs. You're not focusing on the outcomes. So result of target-based programs, result of top-down approach. So in the long run, if you are going like this, it will impact governance. It will inhibit growth of the cooperatives. Professionalism, accountability is something which lacks in many of these cooperatives. And they also find it very difficult to attract the best talent from the markets. Inability to attract competent professionals. Many times, government appointees, government nominees will be there in the cooperatives, and they might be interfering into the work of the cooperatives. They also find it difficult to raise money, raise capital. Sometimes competition also lacks. Cooperatives are not able to compete with other organizations. Sometimes cooperation also lacks. One of the principles of the cooperative movement was there should be cooperation between cooperatives at the local, regional, international level. Cooperation also lacks. Apart from that, competitive attitude is also not there. Cooperatives get politicized. Governments try to interfere into the functioning of the cooperatives. They will politicize cooperatives. Apart from that, there are many cooperatives which are sick, which are not viable, and we do not have any mechanism by which we can convert these sick or unviable cooperatives into functioning viable cooperatives. Those kind of appropriate measures are not there. So these are certain challenges when it comes to the cooperative sector in India. Different suggestions have also been provided. Some suggestions you will find in the committee, that high-powered committee formed in 2009. They are suggesting that we need to define who is an active member. For example, attendance can be one of the bases. How many times they are attending the different general body meetings, or find out some criteria. On that basis, define who is an active member. If you are not an active member, you should be thrown out. The processes for throwing out inactive members should not be difficult. There were challenges when it comes to governance. So they are saying that you should clearly define the different roles responsibility. What is the role responsibility of the management? What is the role responsibility of the board? What is the role responsibility of the committees? All these things should be clearly defined. Then the problems when it comes to governance can be reduced. Professionalism needs to be improved. You should also hire experts, specialists from the markets, from outside. They can also add to the professionalism. There should be more flexibility when it comes to business decisions. More flexibility should be there when it comes to raising funds, allocation of surplus. Cooperatives should be treated just like any other economic institutions. They should be allowed to go into joint ventures, partnerships, all these things should be there. States should refrain from appointing government officials, deputing officers to key positions. And in case they're appointing key officers to different important positions within the cooperatives, there should be a fixed tenure. You have appointed this person should be in that position for the next 2 years. So in case a person is appointed for next 2 years, then that person can also act in an impartial manner, without fear, without favor. Cooperatives should be de-layered. There are multiple hierarchies, reduce the number of hierarchy. Members should be educated. Specific technical as well as other type of education should be provided to the members. In case members are educated, they will also hold the different committees, different institutions within the cooperatives. They will hold different institutions, different committees, different institutions within the cooperatives accountable. So accountability can be ensured if members are educated. Another suggestion is there that since the cooperatives face different kind of problems when it comes to raising capital, find out different alternate mechanisms by which revenue can be raised. Also, the committee suggested that income tax exemption should be there for cooperatives since they do not have sufficient. They find it very difficult to raise capital. At least ensure that income tax is exempted from them. So these are some suggestions for improving the position of cooperatives. So what we will do here is we will look at some of the positive case studies and some of the case studies which also bring out some of the issues related to cooperatives. So there has been a study by Jan Bremen on the fishermen cooperatives in Kerala. He finds out that the traditional fishermen in Kerala, they were at a threat. Threat from whom? Threat from the non-traditional fishermen. The non-traditional fishermen, they had started using mechanized trawlers. Since they are using mechanized trawlers, the traditional fishermen, their source of livelihood, their job security was at a threat. So what the traditional fishermen are doing now is they're forming their own fishermen cooperatives. The Catholic Church is mobilizing these traditional fishermen, and they are now forming their own cooperatives. Since they're forming their own cooperatives, now they themselves can procure machineries. They can put a different kind of pressure on the state government. Since they are cooperatives now, they will have a large bargaining power. Over a period of time, they will also provide different kind of skills, education, and they were now able to compete with the non-mechanized. They were able to compete with the non-traditional fishermen who were using the mechanized trawlers. So over a period of time, they were also able to generate profits. So it's a positive example where the threat to their livelihood was taken care of by formation of cooperatives. Apart from that, another very, very important example is a cooperative formed in Gujarat, the milk dairy cooperatives, Amul, initiated by Varghese Purin. Now, previously what used to happen was the middlemen, they used to collect the milk from the dairy farmers and they were the ones who used to make the profit. Now, there's a cooperative formed. The cooperative is procuring the milk from the dairy farmers. The dairy farmers themselves are forming the cooperative, milk is being procured by this cooperative, and it is now converted into different products and it is then sold to the market. These cooperatives, they're also raising awareness among the dairy farmers about multiple issues. For example, related to cattle health, how to increase production, how to improve their savings. All these things they're focusing on. So over a period of time, it is leading to empowerment of these dairy farmers, and it is also specifically leading to empowerment of women. This particular cooperative movement is also referred to as operational flood. It is also referred to as the white revolution in case of India. So fishermen cooperatives in Kerala, dairy farmers cooperative in case of Gujarat. Very important examples in case of India. Bhaviskar, she studied the cooperatives, the sugar cooperatives in Maharashtra, and she finds out that in the sugar cooperatives, capitalism emerged from grassroots. But over a period of time, political interests are developed. Some of the political leaders at present who have not become national leaders, they emerged from the cooperative sector. Maharashtra, super cooperatives in Maharashtra. But the negative part here is she finds out that bonded laborers are being employed by some of the cooperatives. And many times there is a dominance of the rich farmers in these cooperatives. So this is a mixed kind of study. Positives are there as well as negatives. The capitalism is emerging from grassroots, but presence of bonded laborers, domination by rich farmers. In case of sugar cooperatives in Maharashtra, Satyadev studied the seed cooperatives in case of Haryana. Now Haryana is one of those places where we witnessed green revolution. Green revolution requires high yield variety seeds. Seeds are expensive, so farmers are forming cooperatives among themselves, which will procure seeds. But what is happening here is, in these cooperatives, you have some farmers who are rich, some farmers who are poor. So there is stratification among these cooperatives. Now the rich farmers, they're able to get the superior quality seeds, high quality seeds, while the poor farmers, they're left with inferior quality seeds. So good quality seeds with rich farmers, small farmers, they are having degenerated seeds. They're having the poor quality seeds, they're getting it at cheaper rates. So what is happening here is, the rich farmers, they're getting the better quality seeds, so they will have a better produce. Their productivity will also be better. The poor farmers, their productivity will be less. So already rich-poor divide is there. Now it is further increasing. The difference in the productivity per land, per unit land is also increasing over a period of time. So this is again a negative kind of case study when it comes to cooperatives. So these case studies can be relevant for you. You can quote these case studies in your exam. Now we will look at some more perspectives about cooperatives, what all different thinkers have to say about cooperatives. P.R. Dorsey says that cooperatives is not just an institution, but it is a movement in itself. Over a period of time, the needs of people have changed and the movement has evolved. Initially, the cooperative sector was primarily dominated by credit cooperatives. Now you have cooperatives along different sectors, diverse fields. Here, Desai says that cooperatives can complement land reforms. We unleashed land reforms in 1950s, 60s. Cooperatives could have played the role of complementing land reforms. So cooperatives could have helped us overcome the problems associated with the agrarian social order that existed at the time Britishers are leaving India. So the agrarian social order, we already know what were the challenges, we already know about the agrarian social structure. So the challenges that we had at that point of time, it could have been overcome with the help of cooperatives. Bhaviskar is saying that within the cooperatives, there are a lot of power conflicts. So in cooperatives, everyone is not having equal say. Some people are having greater say. There is concentration of power, and because of this concentration of power, there are conflicts, and because of these conflicts, the growth of cooperative sector has been impacted. Daniel Thorner says that the cooperative sector in case of India has been hijacked by the richer sections, and it is not about not only the money power that is dominating the cooperative sector. It is also caste, which plays an important role. Caste as well as money power both play a very important role. Daniel Thorner also finds out that in Gujarat there are many cooperatives which are just dominated by single families in the village. One family is dominating the entire cooperative. Ideally, the big farmers should not have been part of cooperatives. Ideally, it should have been for the small and marginal farmers, but that has not been the case. Rich farmers, they are dominating. Farmers who are from a particular specific caste, they are the ones who are dominating. Chaturvedi says that number of cooperatives has definitely increased, but number tells you a part of the story. Numbers has increased. But if you look at the entire cooperative sector, only there has been partial success. The landless, the poor, they are the people who have not been benefited. It is only the richer sections of the society who have got the benefit. So these are all the different perspectives related to cooperatives. One question is sometimes asked: what is going to be the role of cooperative in future? See, post-90s, we have unleashed the LPG reforms. The role of state we are trying to gradually reduce. We want more and more private firms to come up, and we are gradually getting interconnected. The world is getting interconnected. We are getting connected with the world market economy. So in such a scenario, what is going to be the role of cooperatives? So there have been different viewpoints. Some say that the role of cooperatives is definitely going to get reduced, but some say that the role of cooperatives might get even more significant. It might become more significant. The High Power Committee in 2009, it suggested that the role of cooperatives can increase, and they're giving some reasons. Now, what are the reasons why the role of cooperatives in the future is going to increase? See, they are saying that government is gradually moving out. We are going for liberalization, the role of state is getting reduced. Government is moving out of multiple domains. Private sector might not be willing to enter into those domains. Sometimes it might happen that private sector would have thought of entering those domains, but they realize that it is not profitable, so they will not go into it. So in these sectors, cooperatives can play a very important role. For example, sun farming, water harvesting, microfinance, these are certain areas where government is not very active, and the private players, they have not been very successful. So solar farming, wind farming, these are areas where cooperatives can play a role. Apart from that, because of these reforms, you also observe that this labor re-engineering, people are thrown out of jobs, people lose out on their jobs. So people have to make an exit. Many organizations are throwing out people. Now, where are these people going to be placed? So you need, in cooperative sector, you need people, and possibly these are the people who can be the labor supply for the cooperative sector. Apart from that, we have also observed that the private players are not dominating. MNCs are dominating. They can become the monopolies. But you need to have some other players who can act as mechanism to check and balance these monopolies. There can be cartels. So we need to ensure that there are some other players who can ensure a mechanism for check and balance. So cooperatives can be these mechanisms of checks and balances. Apart from that, we need to safeguard the interest of those who are in the agricultural sector, interest of those who are in the rural areas. Cooperative can be a mechanism by which you can do this. Also, cooperatives preserve the cultural and ethical values of the country. They are the best channels to keep the spirit of collectivism and democracy afloat. And apart from this, in recent times also, the sustainable development goals that we're talking about, many of the sustainable development goals can be met with the help of cooperatives. So cooperatives, the role of cooperatives is there. Cooperatives will be existing, they are not vanishing, their relevance will be intact. So with this, we will conclude our discussion on cooperatives. So understand, what is cooperative? What are the principles which guide cooperative? What are some of the features of cooperative? What are some of the advantages of cooperative? What are some of the examples of cooperative? How the sector has evolved in case of India? what has been some of the positives, what has been some of the negatives, what can be done to address the challenges that the cooperatives are facing. Keep in mind some of the case studies, positive as well as negative, some of the perspectives of different sociologists, and what is the envisaged role of cooperatives in future. All these things, keep in mind, very important. With this, we will conclude this session.